Nick, how are you?
I'm a little bit worn out, if I'm honest, Chris. I've
How are you?
been to the gym this morning and I'm a bit pooped. Bit pooped out.
Well, I'm a bit worn out for a different reason, and that's because I've been playing Nioh,
Yes.
and it is very, 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 very brutal. But also, it's fun as well, if you can call it that. So I mean, let's get started. So I'll talk about the kind of the main crux of it, and that's the kind of combat. So I'm going to try not to go on about how much it kind of is similar to Dark Souls and the FromSoft games,
Sure.
but the combat does feel similar. I mean, you've got your light attacks, you've got your heavy attacks.
Yeah.
One way it does differ is quite good is the different stances you can take whilst you play. So you've got a kind of a low stance, which the attack isn't as strong, but you can dodge a lot further and a lot faster, and it's a bit more agile. You've got your kind of mid stance, which is a mix of both, and then you've got your high stance, which you move a bit slower, but your attacks are a lot stronger. Now, at the start of the game, you get a choice of what weapon to kind of be a master, kind of be better at. So you've got a choice of like swords and dual swords, axes, and a couple of others.
So a bit like a class system then.
Exactly, yeah. And then you've got the choice of having what kind of guardian spirit you want with you. And you can choose between a fox, like a dog, a dolphin. No, sorry, a shark.
Right.
And a frog or something. It's a weird little creature.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, they're all like different elemental damage. So I mean, I chose Kato, which is the kind of dog, and it's a fire elemental. So in battle, when you're fighting constantly, you press triangle and circle together when your spirit meter's full, and you can kind of unleash this animal, and it kind of takes over you, and it makes your weapon like for me, my weapon flames up, and it like I can take a lot more damage out of whoever I'm fighting. It doesn't last for very long, but you can build it up, and there is like a leveling system.
Right.
Very similar to kind of to Souls with you collect these things called Amrita, and it's essentially the same kind of thing. It's like a currency to level yourself up and stuff like that.
Do you lose that then in the same way that you would lose souls, for example,
yes,
when you
exactly.
die? Right. Okay.
Exactly the same way. Yeah. So you can do the same kind of where you've gathered up like a good 10,000 of them, and then you get too cocky, and then you get beaten down, and then you go back to the last shrine, which is essentially like a bonfire.
Yes.
But you go back to the shrine. Those all that stuff you lost will be at the grave of your body, so you can go back to it, and you can pick them up just like you can do with souls. It's that. I mean, that's very similar, but I mean, just in general, it's difficult. Now, you do feel that satisfaction you do as in like fighting bosses in the other games, where you go like the first massive boss. I was just on it for about 45 minutes, just going to him. He kills you. You go back to the point where you died. You go after him again. He kills you, and it's just constant until you just have to be the patient kind of guy or girl, where you watch their moves. You kind of see how they move, and then you get in your attacks, and kind of alternating between these stances really helps. So he's the first kind of boss. He's very good at. He's very powerful, but when he kind of strikes you, he kind of falls to the floor for a split second, where you can kind of go around the back and
give him a couple of
shit
jibs
out of it. Yeah, exactly.
So do you have a similar kind of mechanic then, that you can actually grind out this Amrita stuff? So do you use that to level up? Do you spend that to add points to your skills? Is that right? So you could in theory sort of run an area maybe 2-3 times just to get a level up before you go and tackle the boss. And once you've done the boss, then does that work in the same way as Souls, in that area is then cleared?
So it's weird because with like Souls, it's one continuation, isn't it? Where you kill the boss, and you carry on walking to the next area, and then you'll find a boss, and you can kill that boss, and then you carry on walking. This is like a level-based game, so it's a mission. You'll kill the boss, and then that'll be like the end of that mission. So the main mission ends, and then you go onto this like map screen where you can go and choose your next kind of area. So there's like submissions as well, where you kind of go back to the same areas that you've been to, but there's a different kind of enemy there. It might just be like a lieutenant where you have to kill or something like that. But it's level based. So.
And what are the enemies like then? Are they? I mean, I played a little bit of the alpha and the first sort of beta that they put out. I played, and the enemies were obviously soldiers or other soldiers. So what are the bosses like? Are they fantastical or are they? Okay.
No, they are. They're actually really good. I mean, the kind of standard soldiers, you've got the standard samurai who'll attack you. And then there's like this nightmare realm called the yokai realm, and they from there they kind of come deformed, dead, kind of weird creatures that do look like samurais, but they've been deformed or whatever. And then you've got slightly bigger enemies which look like this like big demon-looking bastards. And then there's even bigger people which have got massive kind of rocks for hands, and they just thrash around and batter you senseless. So there are quite a few different enemies, and then the bosses themselves are very different, a bit like Dark Souls. Like you can kind of, they're all different, and it's all about the patterns and the movement. They are very different, so you do have to kind of play around with your stances. So in that sense, they're very smart with how you kind of go about fighting them. You can upgrade your stances, so you'll gather things called samurai points and ninja points. There's like a magic point system as well, and there's different. You can like create better moves. You can parry. You can learn to parry, and you can learn to throw like the Japanese styles, the shurikens, and all sorts of that. So there's plenty of different ways to upgrade your fighting, and there's a lot more customization in that sense. And in terms of your character and your armor and your weapons, that's all upgradable, and that's all based on kind of levels. And you can pick up a sword that's like 150, and you've got one at 100, so you could just use that.
Is the stuff that you pick up, is that class specific then? I mean, would you let's say you chose an axe dude who was good with the axe, and you found a sword. Could you use the sword? Do you get a debuff on that because you're an axe dude, or what?
Yeah, that's what I do. My weapon of choice was the sword, because it was a lot kind of faster, and I prefer that. But then I've got an axe as well, and I'm using the axe predominantly at the moment,
right?
Just because it's a lot more powerful, and you can kind of upgrade them both. But I think there are certain perks to having the weapon you chose in the first place, which helps. But I mean, it's really interesting how they've put all this customization in it. It does work really well, especially with the weapons. You can gain familiarity with a weapon. And when that reaches its kind of peak, your weapon actually improves, and your skill with that improves.
Right.
So the more you use the weapon, the more you learn that everything about that weapon, and it kind of builds the score up for it, or the attributes. So it does just pay to play with different weapons and use them. And again, there's swords, there's I was saying your dual swords and all that, but you can find like a bow and arrow and a gun as well.
Oh.
And the guns are very powerful. Bow and arrows aren't so powerful, but they are good for like long range. So they're good for taking out like the smaller kind of enemies. So there's a wide range to it, and it feels a lot faster. Not loads faster, but it's kind of a lot smoother in the combat. You can get some real nice kind of combos together and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, it is really, really good.
And
it's definitely
it's
worth
got like a co-op element to it as well.
Yeah, which when you visit a shrine, you can do the summon. So you can summon a fellow player by using something called the Okocho Cup, which is similar to what you use in Bloodborne and that, where you can wait for someone to join your game. But I mean, because it's not released yet, there's not a lot of people around, so I didn't find anyone. But that would be good. That would be another way to kind of get past the bosses.
Does that work as well in the same way as Souls, in that the person who you summon in has already done that mission in their own game?
I believe so,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the way.
And presumably they get rewarded with extra, I've forgotten what you call Amrita stuff for helping.
I'm fairly sure it works a similar way. I mean, I've not tried it yet. I'm trying to. I tried to summon for about 20 minutes last night, and it just wasn't happening. So I'll try again. But and the kind of between missions as well, you can go to the dojo and you can train up certain things, and you can actually learn skills there to kind of unlock moves within the game, and you can go to a blacksmith's and similar things where you can you forge your weapons and build up your weapons, much like when you use the bloodstone shards. So you can do all that. There's a lot of different kind of ways to build yourself up, and you put the time in, you'll get it back. But each level kind of has a level required or a good level to start at. So the second mission's got like level 12. When I went into it about 13 and got absolutely mullered. So I just spent a lot of time grinding up to like a level 20, and it became a lot easier.
Right.
So it's the same kind of logic in most games, where the more work you put in, the more you get out, and you can grind the same areas like we said earlier. But it feels a lot tougher, and I don't know whether that's because I've not spent as much time as I would do on, say, Bloodborne.
Tougher,
but,
because you think it's a harder game, or tougher because it's new?
I think it's weird because it does feel very similar to FromSoft, but I think the bosses feel a lot different than each other, and that's really interesting. I think just trying to use learn the different stances and trying to work them out into play and stuff. There feels like there's more to learn. Whereas in Bloodborne, there was, but you had strong attacks, you had weak attacks, you could change your weapons and stuff, and then there's bombs and all that kind of thing. But that in Nioh, there's a lot more to master in combat, which is great because it makes it stand out. And I could see it being very popular, definitely, especially with people that love torturing themselves for hours on end. But yeah, I think you'd love it, Nick. I think it's just as good as any of the FromSoft games. And
that's good to know.
As
long as I can summon, I'm a bit of a wuss. I like to summon, and I like to be summoned as well. That. So I like the whole cooperative side of Souls games. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think there's quite a bit to the summoning, and it'll be nice to see when it goes. It gets full release and there's everyone's on it, how well that works.
Yeah. Okay. Is it Nioh or is it Nioh? It's a question, isn't it? It's a question.
I don't actually know. Leave it in the comments, I guess. But I'm going with Nioh.
I think Nioh sounds better, doesn't it?
Easier for me to remember.
Is it? Is it though? Is it? We could be mispronouncing.
We could be. Yeah, we could. But no, I think that's it. If you want to read the review, it'll be going live with this video. So thank you very much for your time, Nick.
You're very welcome. I can't wait to give it a go.
Good. And thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.